So, of course, everybody that's watching this video, you love A24. A24, this brand new movie studio that has produced some of the best movies of the last decade. They have been kind of the flag bearer of many of this new generation's best new filmmakers. They are constantly investing in new filmmakers, new visions, new creative ideas, and a bunch of different styles of movie making. One of those styles mainly is horror. A24 has made a bunch of dark, very great, very dramatic, and very kind of thought-provoking horror films. And on this list, I want to break down my favorites from A24. Now, this is not the best of all time A24 horror movies, because guess what? I have not seen every single one of them, and also, I have opinions that may differ from yours, so don't get mad at me if some of your favorite films are not here. I just want to talk about a bunch of these, not in order. We're not going to rank these out. That's not the kind of video this is. I just want to go through all of them and give you my recommendation and tell you where you can watch these. First up is The Witch. This is the first ever film from director Robert Eggers, who has now become one of my favorite writer-directors in the world. You might see another one of his movies in a couple seconds. The Witch is about a family during 15th century England who moves out to go live off the land, and they encounter, well, a witch. Weird stuff starts to happen around the family, let's just put it that way. Now, if you don't understand what Robert Eggers is as a filmmaker, he is a guy that immerses his stories into the worlds that they're actually set in. That means that this movie feels as close to 1630 England as you're possibly going to get. With both the visual style of this movie, cinematography that is both very simple, but a production value that is very, very thorough and important. The production here is big and beautiful and very focused on the details of immersing itself in this time. The dialogue is older English. You won't understand a lot of what's being said here, and that's okay. The vibe of this movie is off-putting, it's terrifying, it's lonely, it's isolating. Ralph Ineson's voice, amazing. Anya Taylor-Joy, this is the movie that really kind of made her a star. She is incredible here. This movie as a whole never really becomes the true terrifying horror picture that you may expect from the poster and from its very generic name, but it is still a very much thought-provoking, incredible experience that can only come from an incredible filmmaker like Robert Eggers himself. You can watch The Witch right now on Max. I Saw the TV Glow. This is the brand new film that just came from Jane Schonenberg, the same person that made the film called We're All Going to the World's Fair, another really great horror movie that I really enjoyed. I Saw the TV Glow is a brand new 2024 movie that is much less a horror movie and more so a horror vibe movie. This movie gets under your skin in a very different way than anything else that I've watched, especially from A24. It is just a movie that makes you kind of have an existential crisis, which is maybe the best kind of horror, especially when you're an adult and normal horror stuff doesn't scare you as much. Just life horror stuff is more scary. That's I Saw the TV Glow. The movie is about these two childhood friends who grow up bonding over this TV show, and we just kind of watch as they sort of immerse their own lives within that TV show. And what happens when they get older, they kind of come far apart, you know, they spread apart from each other, and then she comes back into his life, and we have to kind of settle all that out. What happens when you age, you get older, and this TV show kind of sticks with you, and maybe you realize some parts of it aren't really adult-like. It's a really freaky movie that has some beautiful cinematography, great use of music and color, some of the best performances of the year so far, and just a movie that I haven't really been able to stop thinking about since I saw it. Go check this one out. I don't think it's on any streamers, but you could get it digitally if you pay a little bit of money. Hereditary. This is one of, if not the most bone-chilling movie on this list, probably the closest thing to more generic horror movie on this list than anything else. This is a movie that is made to freak you the fuck out. But the film does more than just scare you. It also immerses you in this incredible family drama about this family that is grieving the loss of this grandmother, kind of this family matriarchy that has died. This is Ari Aster's directorial debut. Ari Aster, who's currently kind of edging himself in Hollywood as the horror mastermind of our generation. The film stars Toni Collette and Alex Wolff. Toni Collette gives my favorite performance in any horror movie ever. And no, I do not say that lightly. This performance is absolutely terrific. It is kind of the female version of Jack Nicholson's The Shining performance. It's kind of on that same wavelength, I guess. The final act of this movie is so horrifying and so well directed and such a great kind of boom that you get after 2 hours of build up to this final act. The imagery in this movie is iconic, just the direction, everything about it is incredible. If you haven't seen Hereditary, go check it out. It's not on any streamers, but you can yet again pay a little bit of money to go watch it somewhere else. And then we have Midsummer, which was Ari Aster's follow-up to Hereditary, which came out very, very quickly after Hereditary. Very impressive. Midsummer is a very different kind of horror movie from Hereditary, where Hereditary just straight up wants to scare you in maybe a more generic sense of the word. Midsummer wants to make you look in the mirror and go, what the fuck did I just watch? It's a movie about relationships and the trauma of bad relationships. It stars Florence Pugh, who gives kind of an unforgettable performance. You have visuals in this movie that are so off-putting and so disturbing, but you can't help but look away and want to go back and watch the movie again. This movie's sound design is so incredibly weird and amazing. This is a movie that I understand is not gonna work for everybody. It's just so bizarre, and more than likely you will find this thing funnier than scary, right? It's because it's so stupid that it's kind of funny at times. But it is truly a remarkable film that if you watch, you will never forget where you were when you watched it, because it's just one of those really out there movies that you got to appreciate. The Lighthouse. This was Robert Eggers' follow-up to The Witch, and what a masterpiece this movie is. The Lighthouse stars Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe as they are, well, watching over this lighthouse on this isolated island. And like with The Witch, Robert Eggers immerses himself in the space that this movie actually takes place in, so you feel like you are in the time period that this actually exists, and the characters talk a little funny, everything looks a little bit older, and of course this movie is black and white and meant to be felt like an older style film, and it works brilliantly. The cinematography, the look of this movie is just absolutely stunning. But the real center point of this movie are the two performances from Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe, who give career-defining performances that somehow were not nominated for Oscars, specifically Willem Dafoe, who gives a legendary career-making performance. This is just easily the best thing he's ever done. But yet again, this is sort of a horror movie. This is a movie that's supposed to make you feel uneasy. It feels like a dream, but not a good one. It feels like a nightmare. Things start kind of unraveling as you go through this movie, and you just feel uncomfortable watching it. And to me, those are the best style of horror movies. They're not the horror movies that try to blow you away with these jump scares and these clearly horrifying images. Instead, they try to slowly disturb you with the setting and the music and the sounds and the performances and just make you feel uncomfortable when you're watching it. That's the type of horror that I like, and this is one of the best that is out there. You watch The Lighthouse on Max right now. Bodies, bodies, bodies. Now, I hate to even really consider this one a horror movie, but it is technically a slasher horror film, so we're going to talk about it. Bodies, Bodies, Bodies is the funniest movie on this list. It's hilarious. It's straight up a comedy slasher film that takes the slasher genre and kind of rips it apart in a way that even Scream wishes it could do. It's one of the few movies that I've ever watched that actually understands how to make fun of Gen Z without it being absolutely ridiculous. This movie understands the generation that it's targeting, and it does a great job at using both the stupid stuff they say, the stupid things they do, and putting them together and making a fun, entertaining movie where you still care about the characters, but you don't care about them enough to not laugh when terrible things are happening to them. Am I just sick? Rachel Sennot's in this movie, hilarious. Amanda Steinberg, or whatever her name is from The Acolyte, who's currently having like a meltdown on social media over The Acolyte. She's good in this movie. Maria Bakalova, haven't seen enough of her in Hollywood, but every time I have seen her, she's been amazing. And Pete Davidson's here for a few minutes. He's so good. Pete Davidson's amazing. No wonder all these women he keeps dating everybody. No wonder. I love this film. I have been very outspoken about how much I love this film. Go watch Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I believe it is on Netflix right now, so go check it out. Next up, we have Enemy, which is a film from Denis Villeneuve, of course, the guy that does the Dune films and arguably the best director in Hollywood today. Yeah, well, he made a movie with Jake Gyllenhaal back in 2013 called Enemy, which is a psychological horror film about this dude who realizes that he has an identical twin out there who's more of a clone than a twin. And the story ends up becoming this deep dive into insanity. This movie is not one that is going to make a ton of sense to most people that watch it because it is not a straightforward sort of narrative. It is instead a very thematic horror psychological breakdown of this man, and when it works, it's tremendous. The visual style of this movie is dull and ugly, and you don't really want to look at it, but that's kind of the point. Jake Gyllenhaal is very quiet and unlikable, but also still Jake Gyllenhaal, so you can't help but follow him and love him. Everything about this movie just feels irky. It feels like a bad dream, but you just can't help but be sucked into the vibes that Denis creates because he's such a good filmmaker, and the story here and the mystery is very much thought-provoking, and the ending is very much out there. Go watch Enemy on any of the streamers if you pay money. Sorry. Last but not least is Talk to Me, which came out last year from writers and directors Danny and Michael Filippo. These are, of course, the guys that started on YouTube. They made short films on YouTube, and now they are big, famous Hollywood big shots. We're very proud of you. Talk to Me is one of the most creative horror movies of the last few years. It's a movie about this group of kids that discover this hand. If you touch the hand, if you hold the hand, you can see into the spirit world. So they use this hand as like a party trick. They use it as like almost doing drugs in a way, and it's a very interesting movie that is kind of a sub-commentary on drug use. This movie is incredibly suspenseful, incredibly creative with how it scares you. I think the depiction of the spirit world and ghosts, one of the more realistic and disturbing takes I've ever seen. Not to say that this is realistic, because who knows, I'm not here to preach to you, but it feels real in the sense that there's a real mystery to it and kind of this supernatural element to it that's never explained to you, and because of that, it is more terrifying. It's not evil, and it's also not good. It's just, it just is. It's something inexplainable, this horror essence of this film, and that's what makes it so scary. Performances here are also so amazing. The direction, these guys know what they're doing, despite this technically being their future debut. And overall, this is just a really exciting and incredible movie from exciting and incredible new filmmakers, and I cannot wait to see what they do next. And you can watch Talk to Me on all the streamers if you pay money. I'm sorry, none of these, the streamers are lacking on A24 movies, I'm sorry. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe for more notifications. I will see you guys in the next one.